Hey gang, it's Maria from GoalieTrainingPro.com and HockeyTrainingPro.com. And if you remember, about 4 or 5 months ago, I did a series, bottom-up training, and we looked at ankle, knee, hip, low back, shoulder. Actually, I think we looked at the spine as a whole, but kind of looked at how to make sure that those joints are moving properly. And at the end of that sequence, I just posed a question. Hey, if you guys want an advanced version of this series, let me know and I can put that together for you. And the response was really good. A lot of people are like, yeah, give us more goalie specific things to work on, which I understand. I appreciate what you're saying, but it's a little bit like car alignment. So whether I'm driving a Ferrari or the ones that used to blow up, Pinto, the wheels still have to be aligned and set up properly. So that's really what we're going for here. I'm going to give you some advanced exercises, and they're going to help whether you're a goalie or a skater or even a soccer player. The first thing we need to do is have everything moving the way it's supposed to move, and then we put those movement patterns together into some more complex, agility drills and strength training drills that are specific to the movement patterns that a goalie needs. So I hope that makes sense. And here we go. We're going to kick it off with the ankle. The ankle is a cool joint because it does a lot of things. We typically think of it more in terms of dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, so more what's called sagittal plane movement. But there's also inversion and eversion, which is frontal plane movement. And then there's also a little bit of transverse plane movement there, or rotary movement. So I'm going to give you a few exercises that are going to challenge it in different ways. The first exercise is a progression from what we did in the first series, which we just worked on strengthening of the gastroc, strengthening and plantar flexion. This one is similar, but is going to require a lot more balance, control, and proprioception. So it's a movement in the sagittal plane. I'm just doing plantar flexion and then coming down, but I have to stabilize in the frontal plane or I'm going to tip over one way or the other. So it's going to strengthen but also work those stabilizers. So I want you to do it slowly up and slowly down the way I'm doing it. You can see I'm having to work to keep my balance. If I kind of go quickly, well then, my foot gets back on the ground, and even though I'm sort of continually falling, when my foot comes back flat, it shores me up and it stabilizes me a bit. So that's exercise number 1, single leg calf raise. This time we're going to work more in that rotary plane. So again, I'm balancing on one foot. I'm holding a medium bungee out in front of me. I don't want it to be too heavy. And I'm bringing my hips around, but as my hips come around, you can see there's a rotation at my tibia there. And then I'm trying to come around, this way and pause as well. So although it's a movement at my ankle joint, I'm having to use the muscles in my lower leg to stabilize. I'm also using my hip rotators too. So as I mentioned earlier, I alluded to it earlier, as we get into more advanced exercises, they become a little bit more complex. So this one is nice for that ankle rotation and stabilization, but you're also using your hip as well. You can see why this isn't really a rotary power exercise, because I can't generate that much power from a single leg standing position, so it's a little bit more of a functional stability exercise. The single leg bungee hip lock. There are a few different lunge matrices that I'm going to show you in this series. This one I think pertains a little bit more to the ankle, but again, we can't take out the impact of the hips and even movement at the knee joint. But basically we're going to go forward lunge, because that's going to give us a nice dorsiflexion on the back ankle. So as I come forward into my lunge, that back ankle flexes a little bit. Now my heel comes off the ground because it has to, otherwise I'd be stuck. So forward lunge, then we come into a side lunge, and for this one I want you to keep that foot flat on the floor. I see some coaches even teach to lift that foot, but I'd rather have you keep it there, because then we get that inversion, eversion in the frontal plane. So it would be lateral lunge. I'm always trying to come up into a balanced position just to work that dynamic stability, or finding that quick point of balance. And then for this one, I'm going to do a cross under lunge, which again gets a little bit of rotation through that tibia at the ankle joint. Also puts a nice load on the glutes. So if we go through them again, it's going to be front, balance, lateral, balance, cross under, balance. So there's your lunge matrix and 3 new exercises that we can add to progress our bottom-up series. I'll be back later on looking at progression of our knee exercises in this bottom-up series. So this is Maria from GoalieTrainingPro.com, where my mission is to help 10,000 goalies win more games with fewer injuries, even if you don't have the natural ability of your competitors. Happy training.